I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury for Thursday, November 3rd, 2016. We're going to have the invocation and pledge of allegiance by Mr. Guidry. Please stand.
May we all bow heads, please. Heavenly Father, we come this evening in the most humble and gracious way we know how, giving thanks upon all the many blessings that you have restored upon us as your Christian people. We ask that you would bless the state of Louisiana, the city of Lake Charles, and Calcasieu Parish for all the wonderful things that we're doing and going to do in your favor, Heavenly Father. We ask that you uplift all the people that are still going through some struggles with the flooding and the hurricanes around the country, Heavenly Father. We just thank you, and we uplift you for all the many things that you've done for us as your Christian people. We ask these many blessings in your Son named Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
May we face the flag, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Yes, sir. Mr. Vanderpump?
Here.
Mr. Ferris?
Here.
Mr. Grain?
Here.
Mr. Collins?
Here.
Mr. Farnum? Mr. Guidry?
Here.
Mr. Guillory?
Here.
Mr. Hunter?
Here.
Mr. Latour?
Here.
Ms. Mayo? Here. Vice President McMillan?
Here.
Mr. Scott?
Here.
Mrs. Trimmy? Here. Mr. White?
Here.
And President Landry?
Here.
Everyone's present.
Thank you, Miss Kathy. Before we get started, we ask that everyone please silence their cell phones. Also, if you wish to speak on any item on the agenda tonight, we ask that you fill out one of the blue slips you'll find at the front of the room here and turn it in to someone at the staff desk. Item 4, presentation of a certificate of recognition to Miss Bethany Trahan in honor and recognition of being crowned Miss Louisiana USA 2017.
Nick and I had recognition. Be careful with it now. Nick and I had the last one. Nick, we did the last one. You and I did the last one.
You agree with me? My wife said, I said the same.
I'll go ahead and read it. It's short. Certificate of recognition presented by the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury on this, the third day of November 2016, to Bethany Trahan in honor and recognition of being crowned Miss Louisiana USA 2017 and best wishes in the 2017 Miss USA pageant. Congratulations.
Thanks so much.
Wow.
And I'm going to tell y'all, I knew this young lady growing up. I've known her since she was a little kid, and she's beautiful on the outside, but I'm going to tell you, she's really beautiful on the inside. She's a good person. Her parents have raised her right, and I'll tell you, she's going to do us proud. I know. I know you will. Thank you.
Can I say something?
Yeah, I want to ask to say a few words.
Can we all get a picture with her?
No, you can't.
When she comes,
Smile.
when she comes back as Miss USA, we'll get pictures.
That's right. We'll do that. In fact, if you want,
Miss America.
Yeah,
Miss
yeah.
America.
Train, yeah.
While her parents are coming up, they reminded me that we all used to rodeo at the Westlake Riders Club. She actually fell a few times. Brandon fell a few times, but we all had fun. And I just can't believe she was beautiful then, but she's so beautiful now. Proud of her.
one more.
In fact,
Bethany, could we get your dad and mom to say a few words? I want to really hear from your dad. Just
Really not, huh?
Item 5, receive report from Mr. Jimmy Moe, Calcasieu County Agent on activities at the LSU Agricultural Center. Mr. Moe. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Jimmy Moe at 5486 Highway 3059, Lake Charles. Thank you, Mr. Landry and the police jury staff for having us out today. We just wanted to come by and do a little report, our annual report, to thank the police jury members and everyone for helping us, being supportive of the Ag Center. And for those of you who don't know the Ag Center, we're located by the Burton Coliseum on the south side of the parking lot there. Big white building with a green roof, so you can't miss us out there. But we have all types of programs out there. We do 4-H youth programs, which a lot of you probably know about. But we do family consumer science programs. I think last year we kind of spent some time talking about family consumer science programs that we do. And tonight we're going to kind of visit a little bit on some of the ag programs that we do that relate to things that we do in Calcasieu Parish. And we have a report that's kind of a little bit of everything we do. It kind of covers all our different programs for the year. And on the back of it talks about some of the people that we reach and how we reach them and everything. So just wanted to have that for you. But one of the big things we do as far as the Ag Center, probably in Calcasieu Parish, is real unique because it's a big urban area, also a big rural area. So we're real unique in that area. But we do a lot of horticulture type programs with our consumers. It's probably one of the big things that we do in Calcasieu Parish. And I have one of my county agents with me is Robert Turley. He's our horticulturalist here in Calcasieu Parish. And we're very happy to have him. And some of the programs that he coordinates and works with. I know you've probably heard of the Southwest Louisiana Garden Festival and Expo that we have every year out at Burton Coliseum. It probably attracts about 4,000 people annually from all over the Southwest area. And he has about 50 or so master gardeners, which are volunteers that he's worked with to help coordinate that event. Probably has 50 or so vendors that come there. But the big thing he does also is they have a lot of educational workshops for the clientele, the public to go to, whether it be learning about lawn and garden, learning about insects or weeds or vegetable plants. You know, everybody these days wants to have a little backyard garden, which is a great thing. But so we constantly getting people wanting to learn how to garden, how to backyard garden. We get a lot of fruit tree questions. Everybody likes to have fruit trees in their yard, so you get a lot of questions about that. So he does a lot of different little workshops that really help the public in that aspect, and that's something that we've been doing for 10 or 12 years now. It's been a real big success. He also has classes during the year, master gardener classes, which are volunteer type driven classes that help reach a broader spectrum of people throughout the public in Calcasieu Parish. And each year we're always looking for new master gardeners and volunteers that would like to go through classes and help them out. We also have Kevin Savoy that works partially in Cameron and Calcasieu Parish, and he does. He's a Sea Grant agent, and which means he works with fishery programs, also with wetland issues that we deal with, and does a lot of pond work, a lot of just backyard pond issues that a lot of people have. And so we're very happy to have him, and he stays busy with that. And then I do a lot of agriculture work, more working with our farmers and our ranchers, and also a lot of homeowners and things with just insect questions or problems they're having around their home. And you know, today's climate with the ag industry, we're kind of going through a little tough time with our price support with ag programs. Our rice farmers, they're doing a really good job as far as increasing, trying to make the best yields they can, but our prices right now are pretty depressed. So they depend on the Ag Center and a lot of new technologies that we come up with each year. We do demonstration plots out on their farm, trying to give them some of these new technologies they can learn and use, and to help increase yield, especially with rice. A second crop, you know, is a really big thing in our Southwest area where they can really make some additional yields and additional money because the cost of things just hasn't gone down, and that's one thing that really, you know, probably will never go down, but the price, if we could get that price up there to help the farmers, that would be a really good thing. We do a lot of classes with our beef cattle. We have a lot of big beef cattle producers, but also in Calcasieu we're really unique because we're so spread out in a lot of areas. We have a lot of small cattle producers too, so we do a lot of classes teaching them about beef management techniques, but we also do what we call beef quality assurance classes with a lot of our producers, and those things are teaching them how to you know, handle their cattle in a kind of in a way that's better for the animals, whether it's just low stress handling. Also talking about marketing, how to market them. A lot of the smaller producers are learning to get together and market their animals in bigger groups, and so those are some things that we're teaching them. And a lot of them are being able to take advantage of working together to try to increase their price that they get for their animals. They've been doing real well the last few years as far as getting a good price for their cattle, but the last year has just really almost went in half. Cattle prices is just went in half. So our market's really gotten down this past year, and hopefully it's kind of hit bottom, and hopefully from now on they'll be able to increase that as we go forward. But we also do a lot of programs. We did some last year with crawfish producers, and the last few years we've had a big influx of a lot more producers wanting to, or people wanting to get in to produce crawfish. And so we did a big class last fall and had a really big turnout of 45 new and old producers. And you know, crawfish is one of those things I think that it keeps spreading it for the reach of where they're selling them to. And so it's been a market that we're trying to capture. A lot of the farmers or people that have land are trying to find other ways to make money. And so that's one of the things that we're really working on, is trying to increase, giving them another opportunity, another way that they can try to raise some income on their property. So, and everybody likes crawfish. So hopefully with the floods that we had, it didn't hurt us too bad on this area, but some areas further towards our east, I think they're going to have maybe it's a little bit lower yield. So maybe we can help make up for it here in Calcasieu in the year to come, and our farmers will be a little on the plus side. Any questions y'all might have?
I believe we do. Mr. Hunter?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Moe, with the opening of the Cuban market, do you foresee that helping Southwest Louisiana agriculture at all?
We do. Hopefully, if that ever does get where we actually can ship rice and stuff, because they had said at one time, I think rice is one of the things we used to could ship to them, and that would really help our economy here in our area. Trying to boost that market and hopefully help our farmers. Soybean market, you know, but I think it's still a ways to go, but I think they're making good strides. So we hope that can be a big plus for our area.
Thank
We
you.
have the ports and the railways to get them there in our area, so that's good.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter. Mr. Barris?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Moe, I want to say great job. This is very promising. My mother was a home economics teacher. I don't think they call it that anymore. They fancied it up, but it's home ec. And I still see some of her students that are graduated from high school and college to this day, and they'll come up, your mom taught me how to sew a button on. You know, your mom taught me how to iron. You know, so you think these trivial things and small things, I mean, you know, it's great that, you know, you have these programs and you're touching these kids in ways that you don't know yet. So keep up the good work.
We appreciate that. Appreciate y'all's support.
Thank you, Mr. Moe.
Y'all.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Mr. Moe?
My home ec teacher.
Thank you, Mr. Moe.
Thank you.
Item 6, take appropriate action on applications for liquor and beer permits. Mr. Crane?
Mr. President, we have one special event permit and 70 renewals. We recommend that they be approved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Anderpont, second by Mr. Guidry. Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 7, take appropriate action on an
Can I-
application for liquor and beer permit by DG Louisiana LLC for Dollar General number 9536 located at 4249 Highway 12 in Starks, Louisiana. I thought I was reading something twice, but it's all come back to me. Ms. Trimmy?
Just push the button, that's all. I'll come back. Can I have a personal prejudice before I say anything on this?
Well, how about a motion to discuss?
Motion to discuss.
We got a motion to
Okay,
discuss.
a motion to discuss, but that wasn't what I was going to discuss.
Okay.
Oh,
That's
okay.
why I asked for a personal prejudice.
Personal point, go
I'd
ahead.
like Mr. Polick to come up if he's here. Just a personal prejudice.
Yeah, I think you.
Thank you, Terry. Would you explain the new program, which is the first Calcasieu Parish Housing Counseling Agency's asset builder graduate becomes a new homeowner? And one of the things that makes it so special for me is that the first one is in DeQuincy. And the lady is just amazing, and she couldn't have had a home without y'all. So can you give us a little briefing on that?
Ms. Trimmy, if you want me to do it now, or would you prefer that I do it after you guys go further through your agenda toward the end of the meeting?
Whatever you prefer, whatever you say. I just wanted to get it out there because I think it's a very important program.
Yeah, I can certainly do it as you guys finish up your agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, on item 7, I do want to, before we make a motion or vote or whatever, I do want to thank, and I have his card here, Mr. Richard Easterling. I do have some cards. He's the attorney with the Dollar General stores, and he was gracious enough to drive from Baton Rouge and come to Starks. We had about, I would think about 20, 25, maybe more people. We had two pastors of both of the large Pentecostal churches, and the Baptist minister was out of town, but there were several deacons there, and there were people representing like the Lions Club and the other clubs and different things. At that point, he did a wonderful job in talking with the people and being fair and honest about what he was telling them, even though none of us really wanted to hear all of that. We just didn't want it, you know. We didn't want alcohol. It's right across the street from the Baptist church, and I mean from the Pentecostal church, and but he stayed and he was patient, and he answered all questions, and I think he did a wonderful job, and now he has to do his job. He called me, and I said, when he called me, y'all know I'm not an early bird, so he called at 8 o'clock in the morning. And he said, Dollar General is moving forward, and I'll see you Thursday. I said, I am not awake. So I had to kind of like get my wits about me, you know, and thank him for calling, but, you know, understand that he has his job to do, and I have my job to do. So with that, before, I think after, there's going to need to be a motion made and voted on his permit, but if you would just come to the microphone, Richard, and let me thank you personally for
He
being
filled
here
out a blue
tonight.
card, Mr. Trimmy.
You did? Okay.
He did.
So, I mean, if anybody has any questions, you can explain it to them, because you did educate the people there.
Sure, and
If you would, sir, please state your name and address for the record.
my name is Richard Easterling. I'm with the law firm of Taylor Porter at 451 Laurel Street, Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Thank you.
I'm the attorney for Dollar General for the alcohol permits in the state of Louisiana. Just to give you a very short background, Dollar General started rolling this out, adding alcohol to their stores probably about 4 years ago. They've licensed approximately 7,000 stores throughout the United States. In Louisiana, we're toward kind of the end of their rollout. We anticipate licensing over 400 stores in Louisiana. It's a business model that they're using to be able to compete with other stores that are similar and have the ability to sell alcohol. When somebody comes to the store and they want to get chips and buns and other things, they want to have the ability for those people to pick up beer or wine. It's not a major area. It's only going to be like 8 feet of shelf space for the beer and wine. Then they'll have one cooler that will have beer. So it's just part of their marketing plan. And it's been successful in other areas. We did spend probably an hour and a half going through it with everybody. You had the police chief, the fire chief, and the churches there. And
Also had the sheriff's department.
right, yeah, the sheriff's department. And we said that we had spent already a good bit of time and effort looking to see which ones qualified and making the application. In this case, we do qualify from a distance standpoint to be able to have alcohol. There's 2 stores close by on the other corners that already have alcohol. It's not like we're going to be bringing something to the area that's not already there. We just want to be able to compete. Be glad. And we have Michelle Leger here also, who's the regional person for Dollar General, if you have some specific questions about that. But I'll be glad to answer any questions that I can about the licensing that we're looking for, the process that we're going through.
Are there any questions from any of the jurors? Mr. Barris?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Eastling, and I'm sorry, the name.
Michelle Leger.
And I don't know if this is going to go or not, but if it does, with permission comes responsibility. I've spoken to the officers that work shoplifting incidences at this store, and they get zero-ish help or cooperation to work through some of these crimes. So, you throw liquor in, you don't know what's going to happen. Is that going to get any better? I can't say that. You can't say that. But it is an issue. So just please keep that in mind.
We will. And also, the other thing that was brought up at the meeting was maybe the litter aspect of it. Dollar General does not sell singles, like in the brown bag. They can buy, the 6-pack, 12-packs. And I understand you still could litter that way, but, they're not actively seeking, the person that's coming in by the big tall beer and walk out and lauder or anything like that. We don't have room for them to lauder. We don't want the litter. Dollar General has spent time training their people. They all will have the state responsible vendor card, which they already have for the tobacco, but they're coming back and retraining with the alcohol also, just to reinforce, here's what you can and can't do, here's what you look for on that.
Good to hear. Thank you.
Mr. Gary?
Yes, just, Mr. English. Will everything be behind the counter?
No, sir. No, it's going to be on shelves. They have 8-foot shelf space, and then you'll have coolers, just like, I guess, like at a convenience store type or a supermarket type setup.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Gilroy. Mr. McMillan?
Hey, while I have you here, I have a Dollar General in my district on Houston River Road across from Houston River Baptist Church. We have it in our ordinance when we built that there would never be liquor there. You realize that? You know that?
I think we pulled that one. We didn't at the time. No, we didn't know that, but now we know it.
Okay.
I think that's the one that we've pulled, and I'll go back and check, but I know we pulled one because there was an agreement made when the building
Prior
was
to being
built.
Yeah.
And
believe me, the preacher at Houston Baptist Church has, definitely told me that a number of times.
No,
So I'm glad we got that in there.
Yeah,
And I bet Sandy wished she would have had that same foresight, or the churches would have had it. But I just want to make sure on record that you knew that was there.
there is one, and I can't tell you for a fact.
It's ours, Houston River.
I think I've talked with several people about it, and we did pull one application back.
Because y'all still had the thing on the
Right,
door.
we had posted it, but then once we learned that it was an issue, we pulled it back, and we're not going forward with that one. Or we can't go forward with that one.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. Mr. Farnum?
Thank you, Mr. President. Wes, what is the actual distance that it has to be away?
Well, it used to be 300 feet.
What is it now?
Well, for these stores, there's no distance requirement.
No distance. What separates these stores from everybody else?
Well, there was a provision made in 2013 that basically if you had 50% of your sales in your store that was household goods and things like that, then the distance requirement would not apply. And so it basically at that time, it opened the door for these types of businesses to be able to do that.
So if it were, the distance was applicable here, how far away is this business?
Oh, it's just right across the street.
So it's within the, well,
Yeah,
within
Oh,
the-
yeah, oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Farnum. Mr. Scott?
Mr. Crane, right now, so as far as all the requirements, they meet all the requirements for us to issue it as far as what our ordinance says?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Gabb, so if we deny it tonight, he files suit tomorrow, the court is going to say they've met your requirements, you need to go ahead and give them their permit. We've been up and down this road a couple times. So.
We have before.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Good question, Mr. Scott. I was going to say the same thing. Are there any more questions?
I guess, before we actually have a vote, or maybe we'll go, go ahead and have the vote, and then if I could have the privilege of asking our staff to review our ordinance, that's really all I want to do after the vote.
Okay.
So.
Make sure you have the floor when we get done.
I mean, I can just go ahead and make the motion to deny, and maybe I won't get a second, but at least I tried. And Mr. Richard, he understands that I'm just representing the people that I represent.
So are we going to take that as a motion, Ms. Trimmy? You have made a motion to deny.
I made a motion, that doesn't mean I'll get a second.
Exactly.
Okay, all right.
So, look, there you go. Mr. Scott helped you out. We got a motion and a second to deny. We're going to have a roll call vote.
Reverse roll call vote this time. Mr. White?
Yes.
Mrs. Trimmy?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Hold on.
Yeah,
Hold on.
The motion
Yes is no, and no and yes.
So yes and
Oh,
no.
no,
Okay,
sorry, no.
so that's why I was thinking you voted the wrong
And
way.
I apologize. I should have asked Ms. Kathy to reread the motion before we got started, so.
Okay, and Mrs. Trimmy voted in favor, and
Yeah.
Mr. Scott?
No.
Mr. McMillan?
No.
Ms. Mayo? No. Mr. Latour?
Yes?
Mr. Hunter?
No.
Mr. Guillory?
No.
Mr. Gidry?
No.
Mr. Farnum?
No.
Mr. Collins?
No.
Are you gonna vote with him?
I'm sorry.
No.
Mr. Brame?
No.
Mr. Bears?
Yes.
Mr. Andrew
No.
There were 3 yeas, 11 nays. The motion
Is
failed.
denied.
Mr. Gap?
We still need to take affirmative action on the application, so
Right.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, have a motion by, I went blank, Mr. Hunter, I'm so sorry. And a second by Mr. White to approve.
Been there, done that.
Is there any discussion? Any objection?
One.
Let the record show that Ms. Trimmy objected. Motion carries.
Now, can I?
You have the
Have
floor,
my-
Ms. Trimmy.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
In meeting with, and talking with our planning department, in 2013, the Code of Ordinance for alcohol license was modified to remove the 300-foot distance from schools, churches, and libraries, requiring for businesses that have 50% of their sales are produced by household goods, etc. And that modification was done as a result of the neighborhood Walmart in Ward 1, which is less than 300 feet distance away from the public library on Pierce Road. So at that point, the modification door of dollar stores and that type, whether it's Dollar General, whether it's Family Dollar, whether it's Dollar Tree, whether it's Fred's, any of those are all considered dollar stores. It opened up the door where they can be packaged alcohol adjacent to churches, schools, and libraries. And all my motion is going to be is for our staff to revisit that and come back to us with their recommendation. That's all I'm asking.
Second.
Okay, I don't think we need a motion. That's just a request from Ms. Trimmy, and I'm sure y'all will follow up on that. Mr. Crane?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. You good, Ms. Trimmy?
I'm good.
Yeah, we're good.
Good. Okay, item 8, consideration of approving payment of all current invoices.
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Brain.
Second.
Second by Mr. McMillan.
I took you.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 9, consideration of
Move on
approving
to
the minutes of the regular meeting of the police jury dated October 6, 2016. Got a motion by Mr. Scott, second by Mr. Gilry. Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 10, consideration of approving the Public Works Committee report dated October 27, 2016. Mr. Farnum.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Public Works Committee met on October 27, 2016 to discuss the following items. Item A, presentation by Mr. Tom Hafer, Director of Communications and Media of the Police Jury website redesign. Item B, recommended that a resolution be adopted approving an active sale agreement for the purchase of property for the Coach Williams Drive Extension Project. C, recommended that a resolution be adopted approving active sale agreements for the purchase of property for the Coach Williams Drive Extension Project. D, recommended that a resolution be adopted approving a utility and drainage servitude for the Coach Williams Drive Extension Project. Item E, recommended that a resolution be adopted approving an active sale agreement for the purchase of property along the utility and drainage servitude for the Coach Williams Drive Extension Project. Item F, recommended that a resolution be adopted approving expropriation of property as well as expropriation of a servitude for utilities for the Coach Williams Drive Extension Project. Item G, recommended that a resolution be adopted approving expropriation of property in the form of a servitude for the Coach Williams Drive Extension Project. Item H, recommended that a resolution be adopted approving expropriation of property for the Coach Williams Drive Extension Project. Item I, recommended that an ordinance be adopted amending the Code of Ordinances for Calcasieu Parish, Louisiana to establish no-through trucks on Knight Lane in Ward 3. J, recommended that the parish engineer be authorized to advertise for Calcasieu Parish Project Number 2017-11, Jim Kent Road Bridge Replacement Project. Item K, recommended that a resolution be adopted accepting Calcasieu Parish Project Number 2016-01, overlaying of various roads in Calcasieu Parish as substantially complete. Item L, recommended that making a recommendation with reference to accepting Ravenwood Estates Phase 2 Part A subdivision. All of these items met with full approval of the committee, and my motion would be to accept all.
Second. I have a motion by Mr. Farnham and a second by Mr. McMillan. Is there any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 11, consideration of approving the agenda committee report dated October 27, 2016. I have a motion by Mr. Andrew Pont and a second by Mr. Guidry. Is there any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 12, consideration of adopting a resolution in support of the Louisiana State Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority Board in their request to obtain federal debt forgiveness by obtaining a waiver or reduction of Louisiana's cost share obligation for the hurricane and storm damage risk reduction system in the greater New Orleans and surrounding areas. Had a motion by Mr. Scott and a second by Mr. Brain. Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 13, consideration of approving the recommendations of the Director of the Division of Planning and Development in reference to the adjudicated property sale conducted on October 25th, 2016 on the following cases. A, 2515 Ribbeck Avenue in Lake Charles, Mike Godin for $4,900. I guess that's correct. B, 7746 Willie Street in Hayes, Arnold Landry for $5,000. C, 314 Decker, Lake Charles, Debbie Davis for $6,200. D, Tyler Road in Lake Charles, Park Real Estate Enterprises for $100. E, 324 Willow Lane in Lake Charles, Whitetail Properties for $7,500. F, 1224 Giovanni in Lake Charles, Whitetail Properties for $15,000. G, 4200 block of Louisiana Avenue in Lake Charles, Southwest Holdings LLC for $15,500. H, 2708 Hinton Street in Lake Charles, Whitetail Properties for $5,500. I, 700 block of West Napoleon Street in Sulphur, Morris Contractors LLC for $2,500. J, the 700 block of West Napoleon in Sulphur, Michael Watson for $101. K, 700 block of West Napoleon in Sulphur, Morris Contractors for $2,500. L, 705 North Johnson Street in Sulphur, Whitetail Properties for $8,000. M, 1316 Matthew Street in Sulphur, Whitetail Properties for $13,000. N, 1102 Alvin Street in Sulphur, Chance Duhan for $13,100. O, 300 block of Decker Street in Lake Charles, Edwina Broussard for $7,600. P, 8,000 block of Highway 101 in Hayes, Perry Premier Enterprises for $100. Q, south of Pool Dew Lane in Lake Charles, Perry Premier Enterprises for $100. R, east of Oak Lake Drive in Sulphur, Morris Contractors LLC for $100. South of Landry Road in Sulphur, Perry Premier Enterprises for $100. T, south of Mississippi Avenue in Hayes, Morris Contractors LLC for $100. U, south of Mississippi Avenue in Hayes, Morris Contractors LLC for $100. Had a motion on all bullets by Mr. McMillan and a second by Mr. Guidry. Is there any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 14, consideration of adopting a resolution accepting the mosquito control hangar project as substantially complete. Motion by Mr. Brame, second by Mr. Collins. Is there any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 15, consideration of adopting a resolution approving an extension to the contract with Osborne Associates, Inc. for sign face and sheeting material for an additional 6-month period.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. McMillan, second by Mr. Guidry. Is there any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 16, take appropriate action on bids received by the parish purchasing agent for the following.
Move on 16.
Second.
I just had a computer problem.
So it wasn't.
All bullets?
It crashed.
All bullets?
Yes.
See, that's what happened.
Okay, A, October, is that where we are? A, October 19, 2016, Calcasieu Parish Project Number 2015-07, new construction and drainage improvements of various roads. The project engineer recommends that the low bid in the amount of $2,059,244.21 from Civil Construction Company and Environmental Services, LLC, be accepted. B, collection and distribution pipe and fittings. C, mosquito control chemicals. Had a motion by Mr. Andrepont and a second by Mr. Collins on all bullets. Is there any discussion? Mr. Scott.
Mr. Connor, real quick, how are these bids on all these roads and drainage? They've been coming in within our budget, or are they under bids, or are they high? We haven't asked that question in a while, so how are the bids looking?
For most part, we are staying within in that budget area what our estimates are. There are a couple that have exceeded that, but for the most part.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Item 17, take appropriate actions on the terms of the following members of various boards and districts. A, Ms. Carrie Vick, Community Center and Playground District Number 7 of Ward 2.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Latour to defer for 30 days and a second by Mr. Hunter. Is there any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. B, Mr.
Move to
Ivan
reappoint.
J. Carew, Waterworks District Number 7 of Wards 4 and 6. I have a motion by Ms. Trimmy to reappoint and a second by Mr. McMillan. Is there any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 18 is advised items. Before we go to item 19, Tarek, Mr. Polique, could you come back up?
Oh,
And
yeah, thank you.
In the meantime, Tony wants his exception. Or he's going to Tony's going to do it quick, huh? He wants the first one.
Thank you, Mr. President and Ms. Trimmy. We'll take a few moments just to talk about our latest homeowner through our Asset Builders program, Ms. Natasha Davis. For those of you who may not be familiar with our Asset Builders program, it is a 4-to-1 match program that we have through the police jury that you guys sponsor. And the way that the program works is that for every dollar that someone saves, it's matched with $4 of federal funds to help them to be able to move into their own home, to pay for down payment assistance or closing costs. And so our latest homeowner is Ms. Davis. She's in the DeQuincy area. And we've had a banner year at Home and Human Services with our home ownership programs. Basically, we've assisted between 15 to 20 persons in 2016 to move into home ownership. And certainly with all of the talk about affordable housing and everything that's going on in our community, home ownership is definitely the way to go right now, because on average, the mortgages for some of these homes is between $500 and $600 a month, as opposed to people trying to rent for $1,200 to $1,600 a month. So it makes a tremendous difference, this particular type program. So if there are any questions, I'll be happy to take those.
No, I don't really have any questions, except that this is a tremendous program. and the work that our staff there at the Housing and Counseling Agency does with working with people every day and trying to make people's lives better. Calcasieu is moving forward in doing that, and that's how you do it, one family at a time. So thank you, Tarek, for all your hard work, and I appreciate this, and I know that Natasha's excited about this. Thank you.
Well, and thank you, Ms. Trimby, and also thank you to the jury for your support. And as always, whenever I come up, we'd like to acknowledge all of the members of our Human Services Advisory Board, Ms. Mayo, Mr. Guillory, and Mr. Guidry, as well as all the other members of the Human Services Advisory Board, and of course, Ms. Trimby, who served for many, many years. So thank y'all.
Thanks, Jared. Thank you, Mr. Foley. Mr. Geary asked for a personal point of privilege.
Yes, I just would like to recognize this young lady. She's in the audience, and I wish she would stand up. Miss Candace Stevens. She's with the Youth Advisory Council, and she came to observe the meeting and get information on what's going on in the parish so she can share with the rest of her council. And I just wanted to recognize her for coming to the meeting. And thank you, Miss Candace. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Hunter?
I've got to ask, you go to Sam Houston High School? Okay. Do you have Miss Jacobs at all? Yes. Okay, that's my mother-in-law. Be nice to her, all right? Thank you.
Mr. White?
Also, thank you for representing Moss Bluff.
That's it.
Kevin, don't.
Okay, item 19, consideration of going into executive session to discuss potential litigation involving coastal erosion.
Yeah.
Got a motion by Mr. Anderson.
Somebody's got to.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hunter. We are in executive session.
Calvin, how you been, man?